I did a video on headroom, just about what that is. Um, and it's good to check that video out because when you start mixing a song and you just want to start getting a general handle where all this stuff is, and how it relates to one another, being able to hear what's happening in the bass region clearly, because that's going to be pivotal, making sure there's certain instruments that aren't masking the vocal. You'll start to be able to make certain mix decisions. Alongside, you'll be moving the instruments in the panning pots to make sure that they aren't in the center and they aren't taking up valuable real estate in the center of the mix. Because when you think about it, the center of the mix, and I'm flashing over my pan pot. Basically, if it's dead center, what's going to happen is that I'm saying that both speakers will play with the exact same volume. Once I move this pan pot over to the left, what I'm doing is basically reducing the volume in the right, and I'm putting a specific place upon it in the stereo field. In turn, what I'm doing is actually turning down the volume to the sound to a degree. All right, so all this stuff starts to count when when you're mixing it, because the panning is part of the volume thing too. In addition, what you're doing with the pan pot is giving me added perception and depth of a 180 degrees stereo field. With spatial audio, it's 360, but in this context, we're using it as 180 degrees, right? Here and here, right? Representing the two speakers coming together. Okay, so when you're starting off, let me control click this, it's annoying. I'm making sure that these little red dots up here aren't lining up. And the best way to do that is, well, let me tell you, when they light up, it means my signal is clipping and distorting, right? There'll be certain things in the mix like drums and very percussive instruments that will transmit brief spikes that will drift up and then make that click. I don't want to see it click at all. So what I want to do is make sure that I'm bringing everything down to make sure that those little clicks and pops, even though the general signal might be coming, from -12, -14. Oh, by the way, everything tops out at 0. Most audio will be referred to in negative numbers. -2, -1. Even though this pan pot says the same thing. The volume fader over here says one thing. Over here, this is the master fader. That's 0, right? So what I'm trying to figure out is I want to get the loudest. Well, you know what? Before let me play the song from the chorus. Pretty young thing, some loving, tender loving care, and I'll take you there. Now you see that energy for those two little cubes that are at the top. Pretty young thing, some loving, tender loving care, and I'll. See how every now and then it kind of hits that ceiling. When that ceiling is hit, it turns red, or as a lid, it turns red. What I have to make sure is that never happens in this stage, because what I'm really ensuring the fact that I have enough headroom to put additional effects and to deal with mastering as we go along. Because once you pass this thing on to some mastering software, or if you can afford it, a very good mastering engineer for your project, they need enough of this headroom to actually work with to do what they have to do, because they're going to be filling up space and making sure that the way that your music sounds actually sounds as if it can compete against something that's on the radio or being played on, whatever streaming service. So when you start to put the mix together, it's best that you start on a chorus. Everything is in at the chorus. All the background vocals, as you just heard, the guitar players, everybody's digging in. Even if you're just producing this on your little laptop or whatever beat that you're making, everything is more intense
once the hook of the song comes on, appears, because all those instruments will be, it's a different section in the verse. We're actually driving home the point of the song, and we want everything to be full, and whatever the arrangement is, that's very, the orchestration of the arrangement, that's full, supporting the chorus. So you saw what happens. Here, once again, here's the chorus.
Pretty young thing, some loving, tender loving care, and I'll take you there.
Okay, so the first thing is first. I'm probably out of balance because I have to make room for the 4 to 5 loudest things in the mix. And we discussed this over and over again. And if you hear me repeating something, I probably think that it's very important. The kick drum, right? That's holding down the foundation of the rhythm section. And it's the drums in general. The bass, holding down the bottom half of the harmony. Now, here's the thing about these two instruments. So just so as we go forward, we're all on the same page. There will always be some kind of tug of war between the two of these. We have two instruments that are most prominent in low frequencies, and their functions actually need to be in the low frequencies. And the lower in frequency that you go, it's difficult to hear more than one thing because it's just difficult for us to hear lower frequencies. These lower frequencies really represent the power of a song. So it just so happens that the main components of the song, kick drum and bass drum, they both represent, I said it before, the rhythmic aspect of the song. This is holding down the harmony or holding up the harmony. But they're fighting one another. So there'll be certain techniques that we will be using to make sure that we can hear both of these clearly and feel their impact the way that we want to at both times. But to start out, I just want to make sure I can just hear both. So, here's the other part. These two things will be amongst the loudest things in the mix. Why is that? We just talked about it. Low frequencies are more difficult to hear. So the lower the frequency, if we want to be able to really hear it accurately, we need to raise the volume to it. So it's going to take up a lot of room in this in your master fader, your master bus. All right. The other thing is going to be the drums. The drums is that kind of acting as a time marker. It's telling you specific information about the rhythm that's being played. If you're playing boom, pap, you need that pap, or else, it's the beat actually feels incomplete. So the snare has to be represented in the mix. The other thing that will have to be represented, 1, 2, 3, will be the lead vocal, which is playing right here, right? Tyler New, in this case. Think about it. That's the most important thing. And so that has to be heard. So these main elements, everything else is going to be built around these main elements here. All right. Sorry for the pop-up. I was trying to draw a little squiggly line so you can get it. So this is the foundation of the mix. Alongside of that being, serving as the foundation of the mix, everything from each one of these elements has to be panned in the center, meaning that they're taking up equal information both between left channel and right channel, right? Because they're the most important parts of the mix, they have to be represented in both channels at all times. Everything else is negotiable. You might have some things that sit in the middle, like keyboards, that could be one thing. If it was a synth part, maybe if one synth is doing one thing, that could be in the left and the other one could be in the right. But I say that to say this. If you scroll over to this hi-hat track, it's in the middle. But this is a supportive instrument. So basically when you pan something, what you're really doing is turning down the volume between the two channels, left and right. So if I do this, I'm basically turning up the information in the left channel and decreasing it in the right. which by itself is a volume decision. And in addition to that, it's a spatial decision as well, because this hi-hat is really serving as a complementary instrument in the mix. And most of the other instruments outside of these 5 will be doing the same thing, right? The lead vocal, the snare drum, bass drum, and the kick drum. So you're going to be using the panning to actually make room for these like crucial things in the middle, because they're going to be supportive. And when you think about it, you don't want to crowd the center, because if everything is in the center, you will not be able to appreciate it, because everything's going to be, if everything's in the center, how could you really hear like the different instruments? It makes it much easier to get a greater appreciation of these complementary instruments if we move them between the left channel and the right channel. And there are different techniques. I mean, you could have it to where you have 2 guitars doing a call and response. You know, one person's doing and the other person's playing ding, 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 ding. Hey, look, let's put one person doing that rhythm, you know, the that's over in the left channel, and the person holding out a ding, ding is in the right channel, because now we can hear both cleanly. And when you think about it, we're allowing this kind of conversation between 2 instruments to actually occur that the listener can actually appreciate as well, making the whole mix a little more appreciated by the listener. And all great mixes have that kind of combination happening, where volume's right, and I'm getting a little ear candy over here, and I'm getting a little call and response here, and everything's being kind of like stimulated in a sense, because I could hear everything. That's what you're trying to really accomplish in the first part of this project. Okay, so the next part, I'm gonna make a separate video. We're gonna start with the kick, bass, snare, and Tyler. Okay.